Diggs Nation.
Tonight, we're discussing where do I begin on Peanut Butter Magic. Stay tuned.
It's the Peanut Butter Magic Show. It's the Peanut Butter Magic Show.
Welcome everyone to Peanut Butter Magic, the show where we be discussing shit about the music business, the film business, the entertainment business, Hollywood, Nashville, Lexington, you name it. I'm your host tonight. My name is Diggs. And here with me is my co-host, film producer extraordinaire, and my homie, Boss 10, ladies and gentlemen. Boss 10. Give it up for Boss 10. One good time.
Woo! What's up, man? You look cold.
Man, it's a
The
little
weather's
nippy
dropping.
out there. You know what I'm saying? Trying to give my guy a shameless plug with the Scully and whatnot. I told him
gotcha.
I wouldn't verbally shout him out, but I'd rock it. So this is one of the many hats that he had given me. So,
Okay.
you know, we going into tis the season and all. So I thought I'd, just try to help him market a little bit. Do
That's
that whole
right.
business. Yeah, make
That's
that
right.
happen.
Man,
How's
it's,
everything with you?
cold.
Yeah. Oh, it's cold. I'm sure it's cold out there.
Oh, it is, man. We turned the heater on for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I got to turn this thing up.
Really? Yesterday, just out of nowhere, it got cold? How's it been?
It's been like we turned the AC off a few days ago,
Uh-huh.
and it's just been comfortable.
Yeah.
And then we both woke up Monday morning, sore throat from the temperatures that dropped overnight. So it was like, I guess we got to turn this heater on now.
Yeah.
Get ready for this awesome electric bill.
I'll never forget, man, traveling from Tennessee to Kentucky to see you and the difference in weather
Yeah.
from here to there, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You wouldn't think it would be much because we're only a few hours away.
right.
But that few hours can also make up for several inches of snow.
Man, we left here. It was cold, but it wasn't like bone chilling.
Right.
We got there, Jack. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, what happened? What
Yeah.
happened? It's like a whole nother country.
We're in the season now where my husky won't come inside.
Oh, really?
He just lays outside all day, all night. Yeah.
Does both of them act like that?
No. One of them, he's spoiled rotten. So there's no couch outside. So he's not really interested,
Touche.
But the other one's like, mud, perfect.
Let me guess, Parker.
No, Levi.
Really?
Yeah, Parker's
Wow.
like, nah, there's
So
mom's not out there. There's no couch. I'll just stay inside. She's got a blanket. Yep.
Well,
But he's
speaking
not
of mom-
full-blooded. Speaking of
he's
mom.
not?
Nah, Parker's not.
Okay, that makes sense then. That makes sense. Because he doesn't look like Levi.
No, like he's got all the same patterns, but his fur isn't as thick.
Yeah.
So he's mixed with something else, and we assume it's a lab, but I mean we don't really know for sure.
All right, that makes sense. Well, like I said, we speaking of moms right now.
What's up, moms?
How your mama now? How they
Right.
doing? How they doing? Tonight we're gonna discuss, I guess, one of the most basic of questions. Where do I begin? Now, to listen to a question like that could be a very vague statement or a question, or it could cover a broad variety of many different topics. It doesn't necessarily just have to be about entertainment or showbiz. That's a life question as well. Where do I begin? How do I get started? For a lot of people, the hardest part to doing anything is the starting point. You know, we'll come up with these brilliant ideas. We can do whatever we want to do, you know, take over the world. We can create this, we can create that. We can put together this, we can put together that. We can talk about these things, we can talk about those things. That's great. Where do I begin? That's what I want to discuss tonight. You know, is it hard for you, boss, to get started on anything? We can break it down to just the minor of details to start off with. Like, how do you begin things? What's your thought process in starting anything? Like, let's say you have a project at the crib that you need to finish up. Is getting started on it hard for you?
I guess it just depends. Getting started's not really the hardest part for me. It's continuing that becomes the difficult part. Because I can start anything, and I can even start 10 different things, and I don't finish 9 of them. That's the problem. Yeah, so getting started is actually pretty simple. We could talk about getting started all day though, because I'm really good at getting started.
Okay, so then let's talk about it, Mr. Getting Started expert.
Right.
You know, what's your thought pattern? Let's say your toilet broke. How would you approach it?
Well, what part of the toilet broke? Let's say the hinge broke off, and now that I don't have a cover anymore. Mm-hmm. So if that breaks, first thing I got to do is figure out, oh, great, they don't make this toilet size anymore. Perfect. Now what do I do?
Right.
That's how it always works out, right? Or they put a new hinge on it. Now you can't get the old hinge. So you got to buy both hinges because, you know, that's how they make their money. And colleges and math books, 2 + 2 will always equal 4. Why are there 20 versions of this?
Bingo.
But, you know, getting started, it's like if the toilet's broken, it's, you know, I got to figure out what's wrong with it. I'm definitely not a toilet expert. So the first thing I got to do is figure out how the toilet even works, and then figure out where it's broken along the way. Like, is the water just overflowing? You know, maybe that means that the little buoy, that thing that's in it, that the float has fallen off. So the thing doesn't know that there's too much water in there, so it'll just keep pumping in. So it's that brainstorming activity of trying to go through and check all the boxes and figure out where things are at. From a creative standpoint, it just starts with staring off into space.
All right.
And, you know, usually happens when I'm in the middle of doing something, and then I'll just kind of zone out for a while, come up with something really cool, and then obsess over it all day long until I figure out whether or not I can do it. Like I said, getting started's easy.
You ever watched The Good Doctor?
TV show?
Yeah.
No.
It's about a guy. He's a resident at a hospital, and he has autism. So he's brilliant in the mind, but his common sense isn't always up to snuff. Let's just say that. So, but like, let's say he has a patient that comes in and has an issue. They come in through the emergency room. They're on the brink of death. The doctor will stare into space. And then like these Pythagorean theorems and pi equals whatever, and all these different images of numbers will pop up, and he'll be like, I got it. And then he'll solve whatever's ailing the person and whatnot. So you saying that made me think of that show, The Good Doctor. So
yeah. That's pretty much how everything gets started for me. First thing I got to do is understand where I'm going, you know, depending on the task, what needs to be done versus what has to be done. And then I guess that doesn't make sense. That's the same thing, but I got to figure out, I was trying to sound intelligent since we were talking about doctors.
I like sneakers. But I wear
Yeah,
shoes too.
that's right. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, that's yeah, it just starts with a thought. You got to figure it out and just kind of build from there.
Yeah. I run across people, Brandon, that will say to me, like you said, they'll get started, or they'll have an idea, and then they immediately make excuses as to why they don't pull it off. I work, or I ain't got the money, or I need a team, or nobody helps me. Making all of these different excuses as to why they won't even get started. Or like you said, they'll start a little bit and then they won't finish. Now, I've been guilty of starting something and not finishing as well. But just like you, I'm getting better at completing things. And I think one of the reasons why is because I've been sitting at the helm doing something, and it's like I have to get to a stopping point before I completely shut it down. Because it's like when I'm ready to log off or not do, let's say in regards to producing, is because if I'm producing a record, if I've been working on the record 4 or 5 hours, I can't stop and go make dinner just because it's 5 o'clock. I have to get to a point to where if I go and make dinner, I gotta know where I am when I come back to it.
Yeah.
I can't be guessing to like, oh man, I think I was working on the bass. Maybe I was. No, I have to get to a place to where even if I forget everything that I did, I can continue on to work, and maybe it'll come back to me later on,
I was working on Luke's video a couple days ago, and my wife came down and she was like, "Hey, what are we doing for dinner tonight?" I'm like, "Hold on," and I finish it, and she's like, "It's already after 6:30. It's almost 7. It's gonna be 8 before we eat. If we start cooking, we need to come up with something." I'm like, wait. And I finished that clip that I was working on, and then went upstairs, figured out dinner. We ate dinner, and then I came back down and was able to pick up right where I left off.
Right.
There's no way to just walk away
No.
when you're in the middle of creating something. Like, hold on.
Yep. The house on fire. 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to when we were kids and we're playing video games, and my mom had I feel like it was an hour. Like once that hour hit, console's off.
Yeah.
And that would drive me nuts because that hour would hit. She'd come in and be like, "All right, it's been an hour, turn it off." And I haven't hit that save point yet.
Right.
And I'm like, "Wait, I can't turn it off yet. I got to reach the save point." No, it's been an hour. Click. I gotta do all that again.
Right. All right.
You gotta let me get to this point. The thought is not complete.
And I started playing video games before they even had save in the motherfucker.
Right. Yep.
So imagine my heartache and pain oftentimes.
Oh, for sure.
There was a game, man, on the regular Nintendo. Pro Wrestling. I don't know if you remember it. Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
So I finally beat the game. It took me forever to beat the game. And it was a Sunday morning right before church, I'm playing this game. I beat the last guy. Right before they get ready to show me the next screen after you beat it, my mom comes in and turns off the game and was like, "Time to go to church."
I know that feeling.
Now, I was a kid when that happened, boss. I didn't find out how the game ended until I watched it on YouTube.
Right. Yes. Oh, I'm well aware of that. There are games to this day that I have never beaten because there was no save and I wasn't allowed to play the game long enough to hit that point where you saw the ending.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You know, then you got to start all over.
Yep.
Where do I begin?
That's right.
On another game.
On another game.
Done. Done. And I could never get back to that point either. I couldn't. I couldn't
Right.
get the game again. You know, so it was like, yo. So, you know.
Yep.
But like you, it's not, it's sometimes it can be hard. I guess it depends on the circumstances. Like, remember when we did Joyful Noise? Joyful Noise, just for people that's listening, was a singing competition that Brandon and I produced back in 2012, 2013. And I remember I saw my cousin at traffic court. And I sat next to him and I was like, yo, we should do a project together. So he was like, you're right. So I get home from court and I call him up on the phone and I was like, I got it. Because he was real big in the church. I'm not really a church kid. I was a church kid, but I'm not really a church guy now. I'm a producer, you know, as far as that's concerned. And you can give me a yodel competition, I'll produce that motherfucker. It don't matter. But I knew he was into the church and into gospel. He could bring a certain demographic to the table. So I'm like, all right, let's do a gospel singing competition. And he bought the idea. Now, when I told him about the idea, we had all these big plans. We're gonna do it at the college and we're gonna do it at the theater and we're gonna give away some money and do all these things. We had all these ideas on what we wanted to see it look like. But when it came time to get started, when I talked to him about the project, I might have had a quarter in my pocket. No money, no idea on where I was gonna start. But what I did was just started. And it went from 25 cents to enough money to finance the whole thing. Just because I got started, you know. Let's talk about your early days of filmmaking. Like, what was your first camera like?
My first, well, that's a two-part answer. Because the first camera that I filmed with was a Sony Super 8 millimeter camera that we had when I was a little kid. We used to go on like road trips. My mom's family is in Montana. So we would, over the summer, we would take these road trips and drive to Montana and then come back. So my dad bought this camera so that we could film, you know, when we went. And then when friends of mine would come over and have sleepovers, I would go get that camera and make little movies with my action figures. So that's technically the first camera that I filmed on. But the first camera that I ever actually owned myself was a little Sony camcorder that used those little mini DVD tapes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crummy in comparison to what we're using now.
But back then,
but back
we
then,
thought we were Steven Spielberg and shit.
Oh yeah, man. Because I had a little lens adapter that I could screw on and widen the image up. Oh yeah, man.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. What about your first like editing computer? Like what did you edit on? Did you have like a what you have?
I started on Adobe Premiere. I feel like we got like I don't know, there was some video editing suite that we bought at Best Buy. I think it was the only one we could afford. And it was my first, I don't even remember what it was. It could have been Vegas or something. I don't really remember what it was. It was something not great.
Pinnacle or something like that?
Actually, I think it was Pinnacle.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
That was the worst.
Yeah. But that's all we could afford. And so we got it. And the first thing that I ever filmed, I guess, was I was in Scouts when I was a kid. And I was trying to get my Eagle merit badge. And so I hooked up with one of the fire chiefs in Columbia, and we did a CPR class. And I filmed the whole thing and edited it, and then sent it off to some company, and they put it on VHS tapes, and we showed it at a couple of the schools in town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did that?
16 or 17.
Okay.
It was like right at the end. I just got a car. I didn't even want to do the stuff anymore. Like, you know, you mean I can drive anywhere else?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you graduated from that camera, where did you go from there?
I got I think it was called a Panasonic DX 100 or something like that. It was the same one that we used with Ross, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Same camera. Yeah. And because it also used the mini DV tapes. So I could swap back and forth on both cameras. And when I was at MTSU, we used a JVC something or other, and it also used the mini DV tapes.
Right.
So this was a way that I could have one of those cameras at home and still bounce my projects between cameras if I needed to.
I see.
Yeah, but when I bought it, those tapes were on the way out.
Yeah.
Everybody was switching to CF cards, those real big, fat SD cards. I remember when I bought my Panasonic, we shot somewhere. I don't remember what it was that we shot, but we shot somewhere, and I needed a tape. And so I went to Walmart, and they didn't even have a section for tapes. And I was like, hey, where's the mini DV tapes at? And she's like, oh, we don't carry those anymore. Oh, I need to sell this camera.
Right. Right. When you can't go on Walmart and get it.
Right.
Yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah, I sold it and bought a Canon 7D.
Yeah, I remember that camera.
Yeah.
We thought we were big time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was night and day between it and the other cameras. I mean, good grief. Like, because the 5D had came out, and it was too much money. But the 7D was like a more affordable option. And I remember I brought that footage into school, man, and everybody else was still using their little mini DV cameras that they were either checking out or had at home. And I brought in a 7D footage. It looked like it was straight out of Hollywood, man. Now, granted, it sucked, but like the crispness of the image, man, it was just.
Oh, yeah. I remember that camera.
Night and day.
I remember. I was so in awe of you. With that camera, it was like, wow, Brandon actually has one.
Yeah. It was cool because there was a movie that I wish I could remember the name of it. I still haven't actually seen it, but a Canon was part of the promotions for the film because they filmed the entire movie with a 5D, and it was in theaters all over the country. Wow. And so it was so exciting because, like, you know, granted I had a 7D, which had a smaller sensor, but there wasn't really that much difference.
Right.
And so, like, people are shooting real movies with this camera.
This camera, yep.
You know, like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember when we shot the Evolution music videos, the first ones we shot with that Canon, I don't know, something or other.
The one, when we shot Passing Me By.
Yeah. And he was like, you know, this is the camera that they shot some like Brad Pitt movie with or something. Yeah. And I was like, no, they didn't. And he shows up with this camera, and I was like, oh,
right.
That's actually a really nice camera.
Yeah, I remember. You know, the guy behind it though. Big shout out. We're not gonna hate on this show. No. But yeah, those were the good old days. We were shooting then we, like you said, we moved into we got the show. We changed the settings on those cameras. to give us that crispiness, man. That was a game changer.
Yeah, it wasn't a point and shoot anymore.
Right.
Like, oh, just hit the red button.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
could adjust the white balance. I
Right.
remember I used to
Uh-huh.
carry a white card in my bag so I could put it in front of it and make sure it was white. And yeah.
So
Night
now
and day.
you're shooting with the big
Black
boys.
Magic.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Making that happen.
Graduated.
And I've seen some rigs with the Black Magic, man, that just makes that camera look spectacular.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Oh
Man.
yeah.
You wouldn't think that it had that much power with everything that's connected to it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that camera would be able to do all of that.
Yeah. Well, and what's so cool about them now is that they are customizable.
Yeah.
You know, like my Panasonic, the lens didn't come off. Like it was a zoom lens. So you couldn't swap lenses out for different frames or aperture or none of that stuff. You're stuck with it. This is what it does. You can zoom in and out and you can focus. You had all the adjustments on it, which was cool, but it really limited to what they give you when you buy it. Whereas now you're just pretty much buying a box and it's up to you to do whatever you want to with it. So if you want a big monitor, if you want a little monitor, if you want the eyepiece instead of the monitor, if you want both, if you want one microphone, if you want to hook up another, audio rig, lights, batteries, storage. I mean, oh my gosh.
You name it.
Like it's an eye turner now. Like when I'm out walking around, I've got the vest, the arm, the robotic stabilizer. Like we're out shooting. My arms are doing this and the camera's just smooth sailing down the street. Everybody goes, what are they doing?
Is that shit heavy, man? It looks like, man, it weighs a ton.
It's actually not too bad. If after a day of shooting, my back will hurt.
Yeah.
Because I don't do it enough, I guess. But it's not too bad because it all works down to your chest, and you're wearing this vest that's strapped around you, so the weight's distributed pretty well. Now, just carrying it, it's too heavy.
Yeah, I can see that.
But being out shooting, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a long way from where we started.
Yeah.
Like when I was in college, there was indie filmmakers were making YouTube videos about how to make cheaper gear. And if you remember when we shot Crazy Life, I had a PVC made shoulder mount. You remember that? It had the duct tape around it where it sat on my shoulder. And I duct taped a sandbag in there to help with the weight.
Yep. It looked like was them things with the jetpack thing. Yeah.
The throttle on a jetpack. Yeah. Because I didn't have it. And and I have a professional grade shoulder rig now, but at the time they were hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And so somebody was like, look, cameras are small now and they're actually pretty nice, like my 7D. So they were like, look, you can just buy all these pieces at Lowe's, take a tripod apart and glue it on top, and you now have a shoulder rig. And that's what we used. And I've shot several films with it. And I mean, to be real, you can't tell the difference whether I'm using it or my nice one.
Yeah.
It worked. That's all we had.
That's what you do. I've always had the saying functional. As long as it's functional. You know what I mean? Let's roll. We got to stick a piece of wire in it to hold the thing down. Fuck it. Stick the wire in there.
Yep.
Does it work?
That's right.
I'm dealing right now. My daughter, her Nintendo Switch Lite won't come on. It stopped coming on last night. Now, from my research, I found out that that's quite common with Nintendo Switch Lites, that they stop coming on. There is a fix to it. I don't know if I'm computer savvy enough to pull off the fix. So getting back to our topic, I don't even want to get started with that shit.
Yeah.
I don't. I watched a couple of YouTube videos this morning and they made it so not for a 46-year-old man to where I'm like, fuck this. So I gave it to my oldest daughter And I was like, you figure out whether or not you can do it. Because God knows I'm not going to be able to figure this out. I ain't even got the patience to try to figure it out, let alone to know how.
If the one way to look at it is it doesn't turn on. So the worst that can happen is it doesn't turn on.
Yeah.
So, if you try to fix it and you don't fix it, you're still where you started.
Yeah.
It can't get worse.
Right.
Right. It doesn't work right now.
Right.
So it wouldn't be worth it to at least try it. That way you don't have to go buy another one. But I also don't know what.
Anyway.
I also don't know anything about those. So
right.
I don't know what's required.
No, she's not getting to it. She hasn't even had that one a year.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So no.
Come on, Nintendo.
And they say it's a fix for it. They say it is. It just isn't working for me. But I know I don't always take in the information the way it needs to be taken in. So I'm not even gonna stress myself out with that because I'll be yelling at everybody around here.
Well, and if this is a problem with the corporate world, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a product out there that is common enough to fault out that someone else at home had to figure it out and then make a YouTube video that is regularly watched by people trying to figure out how to fix this. If you guys have that many problems, it's up to you as the manufacturer to own up to it and go, hey, bring it in, swap it out, buy this, plug it in, whatever it is. Like if it's reached that level, y'all got a manufacturing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. You're a multi-million-dollar company. You can take care of this.
Yep, I agree. And that's part of the reason why they can't get another dime out of me. Yeah. That is like not cheap.
Right.
And she's only 9. I'm thinking she might be too young to have a toy that expensive. I'm not sure. But it hasn't even been a year. And I don't want to blame her either. I don't want to blame her, especially after doing my research today and seeing that it is a common problem. So, I don't know. I may just say screw it and go Xbox.
PlayStation.
Right. Because I know I can at least count on those. You know what I mean? But Lord have mercy.
So what about you, man? When you got a song that's humming around in your head and you want to, record something, how do you get started? What's your process like?
Melody first. I have to come up with melody. I guess it depends on the type of record that I'm doing. If I'm doing like a song where I'm singing or something like that, it starts with the melody. Today, there's this feature in Cubase called Chord Assist. And they got chord pads to where, like, if you're not a pianist, you can come up with these different chord progressions to get the melodies right in your records as far as like music theory is concerned. And I've never really used the Chord Assist before. And then last night I just started tinkering around with it and just going through and finding different chord patterns that sounded really great. And then you can, once you get the chord patterns, you can edit them to your liking. Cut them here, lengthen them there, place them anywhere you need them to go, and that whole business. I never really bothered with Chord Assist prior to that because I didn't want to get started. And I think had I at least looked into it when I found out about it many, many moons ago, could have saved me a lot of time on my workflow. But not wanting to start that new process, delayed, because I don't play piano. I don't. I can hear chords in my head and I can finger them to death. You know what I mean? And I can even put together some chords but I can't sit down and play like Liberace or Elton John or somebody like that. I'm not a player, Alicia Keys and shit. I'm not that guy. But this right here can make your records sound like you can play, and I can edit them to my liking. You know, and all I had to do was start. Sometimes starting can be one of the hardest things to do. Just the mere thought of something new. Like, yeah.
What about when an artist comes to you and, you know, they're like, "Hey, man, I got this song. I would love it if you were on the hook. You know, see if you can come up with something." And I know from talking to you in the past, there's times when you don't want to just give it back and go, "Look, this isn't for me."
Right.
You want to try to figure out a way that you can blend your style into what they're asking. Mm-hmm. So when you get stuck in that situation, how do you get started at figuring out a way to come up with a melody for a song that you're really not even interested in?
That's a great question. A lot of times when that happens to me, it's coming from an artist that can't even do what I do, you know. So they're giving me a general idea of how they want it to end up. First thing I do is ask for permission to make adjustments if necessary. Because the last thing I want to do is offend them or disrespect what it is they got going on within the record. But if I hear that what they're doing doesn't work, then I'll ask for permission to make adjustments. Perfect example. Goldie Mac asked me to do a hook on one of his songs. And it was kind of a love song, I guess. It was in that realm of some hip hop meets R&B type deal where he's talking about a woman or whatever the case may be. And he had this hook on, he had an idea of how he wanted the hook to go. Now, I had engineered a lot of records for Goldie up until that point. Like we had worked, we weren't strangers to each other by then, but we had never collaborated on a song when he asked me to do this. So he sang it one way when he was describing it to me. So I was like, all right, why don't you go in the booth and sing it on the record? And he was like, wait a minute. And I'm like, nah, because I'm gonna need a reference for when you're gone and you're not here and I'm cutting the song. I'm gonna need you to reference it. And I was like, don't worry about getting the notes right. I know you can't sing. You know, I know you're not a singer. So don't worry, I'm not focused on whether or not you're hitting the right notes. I'm more focused on how you want this thing structured. So he goes in, he sings the hook. And he leaves. Now, the way he sang it, my voice wasn't that way. It would be putting a lot of strain on my voice. But I wanted to get it as close to how he did it as I possibly could. So I sang it. And then he came in, I guess a few days later, and I was like, I got an idea. So I played the record and he listened and he was like, do you like it? And I was like, nah, not really, but I was trying to get where you were going with the record. And he was like, nah, man, be yourself. You know, do what it is that you do. I'm just giving you an idea of how to do it. You know, this is how I would like it to, you know, in this realm. It don't got to be exact. So once he gave me the freedom to get in my own lane, get in my own comfort zone, we were able to pull off something special as far as that was concerned. And then I also did a bridge in the record too. After he heard the hook, I did a bridge and you know, we made something magical. But it wasn't until he he said to me, just kind of be sway low. You know what I mean? Be sway low. Nah. So, yeah. But melody works for me. If I'm producing a song, starting could be anywhere. It depends on the inspiration. If I hear this slick bass line in my head, I'll lay the bass line down first and then build around it. Or if I got this wild drum groove going on to where it's got my head doing like that right there. In my head, I'll start there. You know, I can start the music part of it from pretty much anywhere. It just depends on where the inspiration comes from. You know. Is there a long setup process when you're getting ready to shoot?
Yes. Which is something that over the years I feel like I've gotten a lot better at. I remember, and I think we've talked about this before, but it fits, so I'm going to bring it up again.
Okay.
When we were working on a show for about that time, and Ross asked for a shot list. And I remember I was like, shot list? Why would I put together a shot list? And he's like, so we know what we're doing.
Right.
And I said, well, I don't want to pre-plan it. Like, what happens if I get in here and I don't like this and we have it set up differently than I had imagined, and I would need a whole new shot list? Like, I'd rather just come in here and set it up and then figure it out as we go. And he just didn't understand that at all. And it took more productions out of me to realize that he was right all along. You have to have a shot list. You have to have a plan. Coming up with the idea is the most enjoyable part, but executing that idea can't be done unless you've done the prep work required to shoot. And so over the years, I have learned more and more and more about what prep work is required.
Yeah.
I was working with this girl, her name's Abby DeHaan. She's got her own production company. And one day we shot something, and I showed up. I was the director. One of her friends wrote it. One of her friends was shooting it. Somebody else was acting in it. She just hired me on to come direct. So I wrote out my shot list. I kind of came up with a game plan, and I showed up, and I was like, all right, here we go. And I handed the DP my shot list, and he was like, all right, what else you got? And I was like, what do you mean, what else do I got? Like, this is what we're doing, right? And he said, yeah, but you don't have anything else planned out? You just have the shots? Like, where's all your descriptions in the shots? Like, what kind of mood are we going for? What kind of light are we going for? What type of day is it? There's so much information that we need to move forward. You can't just write down what you're shooting, because anybody that picks that up needs to know what that is. Just because you know what the shot is, everyone else needs to know what the shot is. And so the next production we did, she came to one of the production meetings with a clipboard, not a clipboard, like a 3-ring binder. And she had dividers in it. And she was like, all right, for this script, I want you to make sure this book is filled. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, just look through it. And I think I had written that script, or maybe someone else did. I don't remember. But she was like, I know that you're going to have your shot list, and you worked with Aaron last time, and he kind of went over some of the things that he needed to know prior to showing up. You guys, we made it work. The film was great. But there's more detail that everyone needs to know when they show up than just what you have thought about. So when you're coming up with your shot list, make sure that there's something in every space that I have a divider set up for. And it's her production Bible. And I have tried to have a production Bible for every production that I've done since that one, because what's so cool about it is when we show up on set, you can walk up and go, what are we doing? And I can hand you the production Bible, and every question you could possibly have is in that book. Like, every shot is planned out. All the locations are pre-planned out. Absolutely everything. Contacts, maps, camera layout. Like, if the room is a square, there's a space to put in where the actor is in that square versus where the camera is. You know, any of the decorations that are going to be in there, the movement of everybody. Like, I need a close-up of Sway when he's, you know, singing this part of the song, and then he's going to walk over to this part of the room, and we're going to move with him, and it's going to become more of like a medium shot. And so on that one page, there's a drawing of the room, there's you, there's the camera, and then there's handwritten your motion and the direction that the camera is going to move to, and where the lighting is going to be set up. Now, obviously, a lot of that stuff can change when you get there, clearly. But
it's like a blueprint.
It's a blueprint. It's every portion of the idea that you have already planned out. Like, we did a production recently, and none of that was done. Because, you know, I don't really know why, but we didn't, the communication wasn't where it should have been. And a lot of the decisions that were made up on the spot, and it all worked. Everybody that I was working with, we've been working together for years and years. So we already could figure out what all those steps were going to be, but I've worked myself into a position now that I like to have all that stuff planned out. And I want to know exactly what we're doing. That's why, like, when we shot all of Sway's videos, while we could knock all those out in a day, because we've already thought about all these locations. I've already gone all over Lexington and figured out where we're going to shoot at. So when we show up, all that's already done. And it worked out great. His videos all look great. When we built the set in here, all that stuff was planned. Yeah. Granted, while we were there, it was like, hey, what if we got this? Cool, let's get it. What if we got that? All right, let's do it. But a lot of that stuff was already pre-planned. Costumes, the set, the props, like all that stuff was thought about before we started rolling. And it's so much better to take those extra steps in the planning process before you get started with production.
Absolutely. You made some real good points. But I'm curious about, you mentioned your script writing. Like, how hard is it to write a script? I've never written a script before. How hard is that?
It's not hard. Now, as far as the difficulty level goes, it's keeping it entertaining. I think can be the hard part. Like, my process for writing a script is I'm usually doing something, and then I just zone out and watch a movie in my head. And then I'll do that 4 or 5 times throughout the day. And then, you know, by the time I get home, I've got, whether it's just a scene or a sequence or just a conversation, or maybe it's the whole plot. I'll get home and go, all right, I've watched this in my head like 100 times already, and now I'm going to put it down on paper. And so there's a format you follow, and you just plot it all out. And you're going to rewrite it 100 times before it ever sees the light of day. But you're just getting that thought out on paper. And if it's the full script, if that's the goal, if it's not just a conversation, if it's, I want this to be the story, then it could take a couple weeks, it could take a couple months. I've got a script that I've been working on for years and years and years that's just not ready yet.
Really?
Yeah, it just depends. I've heard a lot of writers talk about how difficult it is to sit down and write a script, but I mean, if you're just not feeling it, write something else.
Yeah. Now,
You
do you
know?
start at the beginning every time?
I try to start with an outline. Um, every movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
And so if I want to write a full script, that's the goal. Is this is I got the script I'm working on right now. I thought of the whole uh, uh, sequence of events throughout the film. I knew how I wanted it to start. I knew who I wanted the protagonist and the antagonist to be. I knew how they were going to interact throughout the film. I knew what was going to be the big climactic sequence that was going to happen, to start off Act 3. And then I knew how I wanted it to end. And I've been sitting on this idea for several weeks, just watching these things play out and think, oh no, that's already done in the movie. I need to come up with something else. Sometimes I'd write those little notes down. And then eventually I got to the point where it was time to actually start the writing process. And so I create an outline. And the outline is not very detailed. It's just the basic, like if I was to describe the movie to you and I was to describe the whole movie to you in just a couple minutes, that's the outline. Like this happens and then that happens and then that leads to this and then now we're at the end. And that's just to give me a goal, basically. Yeah. And so when I'm writing that script, I might start with the beginning, but I might be more excited about that climactic sequence. And so I'll just go to that and I'll just write that part. And then when I come back and sit down at the computer and go, all right, I need to work on this, I might work on the scene that led to that. I might lead to the scene that led to, or I may have been thinking all day about that opening sequence that I haven't written down yet. And so I'll write that first. And so I just use that outline as a direction for myself. So I know where to go, and it'll change. I mean, sometimes the ending, I'll come up with something completely different and just delete whatever's there. And now I've got a brand new ending. So I don't use it and go, I have to follow this.
Right.
But I use that as a direction so I can keep it all together.
Yeah. Sometimes you write from the inside out.
Sometimes, sure.
Yeah.
I never write backwards to forwards. I've heard people say that they do that because the ending's the most important. So that's where they start. But when I do that, my endings always change because I've figured out how to allow the characters to tell the story. Yeah. And so sometimes that ending that I wanted, the characters have completely changed who they become, and the ending doesn't even work anymore.
Yeah.
So I like to just have that idea of where it's going to go and just naturally let the story become whatever it becomes.
That's very common in creatives too. Like you don't always end up the way that it starts out. Like even when I'm producing records, right? There's phases that I go through. Like I call the first phase like the pencil phase, where like if I was an artist that drew or painted or whatever, you got to sketch it first. So I get a sketch of what it is that I'm doing. The chords may be very simple. It may be very toned out and just the basic hitting the notes here and there and very, very basic. That's the sketch, just to give me an idea of where I'm going. How can I develop this into something that's great, But it's very, very skeleton, the skeleton part of it, and just kind of make that happen.
Yeah. I think that's important. I went to a writer's meeting once, and we were trying to come up with something to write that day, and we came up with an idea. What if we wrote a script about this? And it was like, cool. What's going to happen like in that script? That's a cool idea. Where's it going to go? And the guy that was kind of running that meeting was like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. Well, we got to have an end point, at least an idea, like a
Right.
goal. And that pencil point, he was not for. And it was like, I like having that sketch. Like, I don't want to sit down and draw the final product. I want to sit down and just kind of bullshit an idea out. And then as I start on the final painting, I'm going to change my lines.
Right.
I may have wanted this to be yellow, but now it's
Right.
going to be green. You know, like it may turn into Picasso. It may look like a Jordan Air. You know, it could be whatever, you know, it can turn into anything. But I got to have that scratch pad. If I don't
Yeah.
have that, I'll never get anything finished.
Now, do you have like, is your scratch pad electronic, or you use pen and pad, pencil and pad?
I'm solely electronic now.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
daughter is too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She loves it, man.
I'm telling you, dude.
Yeah, it's like that for real.
It's like that for real.
He wears a little glove and shit. You got the glove and shit.
Oh, I don't do a glove.
Yeah, she has the glove and
Just watching
The
too
whole-
much Michael Jackson.
her shit is crazy.
Wow.
But she has a little drawing pad and the stuff she's into that anime.
Yeah.
So that stuff looks really good. It
Yeah.
does. You know my daughter.
Yep.
If you saw her work, you never think it came from her. Let's just say that.
She's an Anderson. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I've never met an untalented Anderson from Columbia. I may not have liked all of them,
Right.
but they've all been talented.
Very good. Very good. So, but yeah, she does a great job. But I'm shocked that you have a pad. I don't think we ever discussed that.
Oh yeah, man. It's so, because everything is electronic now.
Yeah.
Everything is electronic. And like last week I was talking about my buddy that during COVID finally started designing shirts.
Yeah.
And so we would go over there, or I'd go over to his house and we'd sit down and start brainstorming some shirt ideas. And I was trying to teach him the like how it works on the computer, because you have to have a certain type of image and resolution and all that stuff to get a good quality print.
Mhm.
And so I'm over here like drawing on my iPad to show him, you know, you take the sketch and then you put it on the computer and you do this and that. And he didn't have an iPad at the time, so he pulled out pencil and paper and started drawing. And I was like, I remember those days. Treasure this, because you'll never do it again.
I still use rhyme books, man. I still do.
Yeah.
I can't.
Seinfeld still writes on yellow paper.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
just
can't do
can't
that.
do it.
Type it in my phone.
No, I can't. No. I can't. I got, by the fact, I got some comic books around this joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one right here. Well, I can't reach it, but it's literally within arm's reach.
Oh yeah.
The comic book is right there. So it's like, yeah.
Everybody has a method, you
Yeah.
know, and you
Yeah.
stick to that method,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little bit younger than you, but not too much. I started turning, like, I remember my first papers in school were written on paper.
Yeah.
You know, like that was how I turned them in. And then as it became more common for people to have computers, all of my papers became typed.
Right.
And so that now people don't even have computers.
Right.
Like I was talking about upgrading my computer the other day at work. Someone was like, "You have a computer?" And I was like, yeah.
So how
You
do
don't
they
have
work?
a computer?
Yeah.
They
how
do
work?
everything on their phone or their tablet.
I can't see myself cutting records on the phone. I can't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was in a jam, maybe if I was in a hotel room and didn't have, that's the only way I could do it. Maybe that way, but just on a regular, on my phone, I don't know.
Well, no. You wouldn't record a song on your phone, probably.
No, I couldn't.
But like the writing process,
Mhm.
like I strictly write scripts via my computer. All my ideas and notes for a script are done on my phone, all of them, 100%. But when it comes to the actual script, I have to sit down at a computer and type it.
I see.
I don't
Only
know
time
why.
I type shit when you need it. That's it. I need you to type out this. That's when I type it. Otherwise, no. I write it all down.
Yeah.
I do. Because some things never change, man. That's the old school in me.
You know, I think eventually we won't even use paper. I think tablets are the future.
I think you might be right.
People have computers, like none of that stuff. It'll all just be cell phones and tablets of some sort.
Yeah. Shit, pretty much everywhere you go now, there's hardly ever anything you're signing with a pen these days.
Right.
Anything. I can't remember the last time I saw a paper check. Or
follow an old lady at a grocery store.
Right. There's this commercial I saw, man. There's this commercial I saw where they was talking, it was a banking commercial where they was talking about if you set up a checking account with their bank, the many different ways you can deposit the money into the bank account.
Yeah.
And at the end of the commercial, they said, even that dinosaur check from grandma.
Right. Yep.
I thought that was funny.
Yep. Like Apple developed the pencil.
Uh-huh.
And man, like I've tried to draw on tablets with those little stylus things that have that little like rubber tip on it. Nah, throw that shit in the trash, man. The Apple Pencil with an iPad.
Uh-huh.
Why even have paper?
Really? It's like that?
It's like that and more. It's so cool. And like the new ones, mine's the first generation, so you have to like plug it in to charge it up. The new ones just magnetically stick to the side of the iPad and charge themselves.
And it's only an Apple product?
Yeah. I think Samsung has a version of it. I know Microsoft does because they've been advertising it on the Surface commercials.
I have,
but it's the new generation of stylus, basically, and it requires a charge for some reason, a battery inside of it. But it was a game changer.
You give me something to.
It's a game changer, man. Now I don't like to write with it. That's still weird.
Yeah.
I assume that the generations that follow will probably it'll just be how they write. Like everything will be written out that way if they even write anymore.
Right. You used to write with bird feathers and shit.
Right. I mean, do they even teach cursive anymore?
They started back. They did.
Oh, really?
Like last year, some shit.
People
like
got to learn how to sign their name.
Right. Yeah. My kids' penmanship sucks. All of them.
Mine too.
All of them. I got 2 grown kids. They penmanship is fucked up. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I took Hope. I don't know if I told you, but Hope got a learner's permit.
Yep.
Yeah. So I took her to take the test and things of that nature. She had never signed her name before.
Really?
Yeah. So she didn't know what. She just put her initials. Yep. That. So, guess where you start ain't where you end up. Damn it. So
I'm surprised they teach cursive. Like finding out that they stopped makes sense, and then now that they're starting it up again, like why?
Why? Yeah. Why?
Cursive, it's like it's super quick, I guess, but I mean, I have trouble reading people's
Yeah.
like standard writing. When they switch to cursive writing,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
a
I'm
wrap.
not reading this.
Yep, it's a wrap. I remember in school, man, getting them notes from them girls. They write half cursive, half regular. You're like, what the hell is this shit? Like,
Coming up with a new language.
it's like bad,
Yeah,
bad.
terrible.
Well, all in all, we kind of touched on getting started, I guess. I guess that's part of getting started. We got started on this podcast and it kind of took a life of its own and shit.
That's right.
So, you know, main thing I want you to take away, if anything, is to, like I said in the beginning, getting started the hardest part for a lot of people. Don't be afraid to start.
I mean, that's probably the biggest thing to getting started. Is not to be afraid of it and just do it.
Yep.
You know,
And
the hardest part is getting started.
You and I are gonna be better at finishing shit too.
Getting there.
You know what I mean? We are. We're gonna get better. And having stopping points can help you to finish stuff.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Having places to come back to when you do have to make a sudden exit.
Creating goals along the way.
Yes. Yes.
That's something that I really learned.
Yes. And one of the biggest lessons I probably learned in my life is that nobody starts at the top.
Right.
So go for that cheap equipment to learn what you're doing. You know what I mean? Spend the $50 for a microphone just to get a feel for having a microphone before you go all out.
Right.
Do those things. Don't be afraid of that. Do your research. Do your due diligence to yourself.
Right.
And main thing, don't be afraid to fail. Don't let just because it didn't start out great, you determine the final outcome.
Right.
Any last words, boss?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Damn it, Nike and their great slogan. That's the key to get started on anything.
Yep.
Just doing it.
Just do it, man. Just do it. We want to thank you all for checking this out on Peanut Butter Magic. Tune in next time. Boss 10, this is Sway Low. We're signing off.
It's the Peanut Butter Magic Show. It's the Peanut